Hello everybody, it's Marie from Skeletorama again. Welcome back to my channel. How's everybody doing? I'd be doing better if I could do shorter videos, but apparently I can't. So as you saw if you watched the last part, I ended up just going ahead and cutting this about in half, just because an 1.5 hour video is a bit long. And sorry for the noise in the background, it's a treadmill that's being used right now. But anyways, so hope you enjoy part 2. So here we have our main piece and we have all of our paper bits. So what I've done is I've taken these ones. These are the ones that are supposed to go in here. And I've already folded them, so I'll show you how I did that. I use these. So these are bending pliers, and these are done by Tamiya. They're a company out of Japan. They're used mostly for like, those little tiny models people do with the metal, the real thin sheet metal, for that kind of stuff. They work brilliantly for paper, and you can just barely see in person that there's like a line where these two grains meet. It kind of shows you where that's going to be. So I'm putting these against that line and I'm just pushing it over like that. So it gets it started for me. And so then I just kind of fold it over like that and crease it. Same thing on this side. Bend. And you know, with my luck, these things aren't going to fit very good anyway, so, I mean, is what it is. We'll figure it out if that is the case. And I kind of was creasing with my fingernail a bit too, so they'd be nice and sharp once we got them in there. Because yeah, I'm still not 100% sure how this is going to work, but we'll see. We will see. I'll do the ends same way. Come on. There we go. Okay, and then these, I just make sure they're straight, and then I press them over and crease them. Okay, so like this. So now I had written on the back of these where they were supposed to go. So we've got top shelf, second shelf from the top, third shelf from the top. So these should, in theory, slide in here. Ha ha ha. Yeah. Come on. And then, you know, be glued down in there. So it looks like this one's just a tiny bit long for this. So let's fold this up and see. Well, that should be right. So I must not be folded over far enough. Let's kind of push this in just a little tiny bit. There we go. Maybe that'll do it. And we'll do the same with this one. Make sure they're as far in as they can go. Okay. Let's try this again. Oh, that's much better. Okay, so we put that in there. Pull these flaps up here. And this flap up here. And voila, it looks like it's got a wood interior. So that actually didn't turn out too terrible. I mean, obviously I got to glue it in there, but I wanted to dry fit it first because, yeah, I could just see me putting glue on it and be like, oh, yeah, this is going to work great, and have it be a complete failure, because that's just how things happen, as evidenced by the fact I can't get it out now. Nice. All right, let's get my tweezers. There we go. All right, I'll kind of do it the reverse of how I got it in, and maybe that'll work without destroying it, because I really don't want to print it again. Okay. So since that worked out pretty good, I think what I'll do is I will put some glue on the back, and then I will push this in there, and then we'll worry about putting the sides up, each one after another. That'd probably be the easiest way, because if I put glue on the whole thing, it's just going to be an unmitigated disaster. So I will put it on, fast forward slightly. I'm going to use Fabri-Tac just because Fabri-Tac holds really well, and it doesn't make paper, because this is just, I did this on kind of a thick copy paper. It's not going to make it bubble, so it won't look like paper that's been glued to something. Whereas Mod Podge or the regular glue probably would kind of wrinkle it up a bit. Right, so now we have these 3 shelves done. And let me see if I can fix that lighting a little better. There we go. It's hard because this is very dark and this is very dark. Everything's dark. Okay, so we have our 3 shelves. So now I know we've got a piece for this. I think that's what this piece here is. And somewhere in here we have these pieces here. And see, they've got the little slot that goes through this. Oh, let's get this out of here. Okay, so find those. Let's see, these are for the doors. Put those over here. These are the drawers we're not going to use, but we are going to use them. Where are you? Okay, here's another one of those. And then there's some that are like this, so I'm not real sure what's what. I imagine one of them is for behind here. It's not that one, that's too short. So, oh, looks like it's this one. And I'm betting this is for under here. And then I'm going to guess this is for right here. So, yep. All right. So what we can do with this is we have these inserts that we're not going to use, right? But these little tabs that would normally go in here are made of the wood stuff, right? And they're going to be the right length to fill this, in theory. So I was thinking what we could do is maybe cut them off, right? And the same with the side ones and the bottom ones. We just wouldn't have anything for the back. Or we could put this centerpiece on the back. So I think what I'll do is I'll take my scissors and we'll cut up the middle one, and we'll see kind of how that works in there. We'll do a dry run because that's what we can do with these. We can do the same thing. We can cut these pieces off and put this so it's in the back. So if you do see something, at least you'll see something with some wood grain to it. Maybe even the right way up. Who knows? Probably not. Okay, so those are these 3. Let's set these over here. Is that? Yes. Because then this is for this piece here. So it's got one design for on the top and on the bottom because it can hinge up here. Speaking of hinges, the these doors that go on here, these can be hinged as well, so you can open and close them. Which I do have 2 hinges, so I will probably put those on the outside of it just to make it easier because I've already papered the inside. But I'll do that before we add the paper to the outside here so that can cover it up, and same with on the door itself. So, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. And unfortunately I only had 2 of these little hinges because I would have loved to have had this part be able to come down and go back up as well, but chances are I'm going to have some things on it and kind of, you know, dress it up a bit with papers and documents and stuff. So I may not want it closed anyway, so we'll see. Alright, so I've got my scissors. So these are the Tim Holtz tonic ones, which are micro serrated, so we don't want them. You know what? I don't want to use those because it will put micro serrations on at least one side. So let me grab my other. These are my other little bitties that don't have the serrations. And I'm just going to go straight across. You can kind of see a little bit of the line where the grain is different. From here and here. I'll do these sides because the grain stays the same on the sides. So this way I can use the other piece kind of as a marker. Okay, so that's a side. And then this has that really faint line, if you look real close. Okay, so that's those. So in theory, if I take this, it will fit on this bottom floor of this. Ooh, and it does. Okay. So, and yeah, it's real hard for you to see that. I don't know if there's a way I can put it where you can see it, but it's going to fit on this little bottom part, and I'll pull it so that it's like to the front. Because again, we're going to have stuff on here, so you're probably not going to see it at all, but I figured I might as well, just for fun, make it look nice. And this looks like it'll fit just fine in the center. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do the pieces that go on the top and the bottom and the sides first, and then I'll do the center one. Actually, what would be smarter is to do this piece here first so that I know where to bring the top piece up to. Yeah, let's do that. Make sure I have the right one. Yes, I do. Okay. So there's that. So we're going to set this aside for a second, and just so that I can get it out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and put these on either side of this too. Since I'm not going to be able to do any hinges, I don't have to wait for that part like I do with the doors and the sides. We're going to put acetate on the doors. Actually, we're going to put transparency film, but you know, whatever. And this part, I think, is the part I'm going to have up, even though that part looks kind of like a, what do they call those things? Like the blotters, desk blotters, you know? Might be what that is, but... Alright, there's that one. And I love Fabri-Tac because it holds nice and quick. And again, you don't get any of that bubbling because it doesn't have, you know, water as a base. It's got acetone, which evaporates very quickly. So it doesn't put a bunch of moisture into your paper, it doesn't warp it, and all that good stuff. Alright, so I have these in such a way that I can pick either one for the front, you know, when we go to attach that on there. So, okay, there we go. We'll set this aside now. Okay, so let's see if these will do what their other friends did. So same thing, you can, when you're holding it in person, you can barely see a little join line where the grain, you know, she didn't use the same grain pattern for the full thing. There's a tiny line where they don't match. So that's what I'm following. And with this, I'm just following like whichever grain is going up towards that top. A little easier on this one because you're going down and you can use that as more of a guide, but all right, where are you? There it is. Okay, so that should do it. Now, when you're measuring stuff like this to see if this is going to fit, you don't want to put it all the way in there because you're probably going to get it stuck. So I try to put it in this way and this way. So this way fits. This way I probably cut it at a slight angle because I'll bet you this one does. Nope. Okay. So we'll just take a little bit off of both the top and the bottom so that our little design will stay centered. Just a tiny sliver. And then we will dry fit the other pieces to make sure that they work. Yeah, see? That's a sliver. When the paper starts to curl itself, that's a sliver. Okay. See? So now that'll fit. That's actually still going to be a little tight of a fit. That side's good. Let's go down just a little bit more. Because again, once you get the paper in there, you have to account for the thickness of the paper as well. And this was meant to, you know, fold and go in a completely different way than what we're doing, so we have to accommodate for that. Okay, see how that fits in good? So this way you can test it without getting it stuck to the back of your piece and not able to get it out. It's the same way I do the Altoid tins as well when I'm doing those. Alright, so this we can put in there and see that fits just perfect. So we are good to go for these. So we'll do the bottom pieces, and I had inked one of the edges, so we're going to make sure the inked edges help front. And again, we're going to glue the piece because, yeah, there's no way I would be able to get this Fabri-Tac bottle in there all the way to the back and keep my sanity, you know? Not going to happen. Okay, so I'll just kind of push this in here all the way to the back and then line it up with the front, because again, the front edge, the leading edge, you're going to see. You're not going to see the very back edge. So if it's maybe not quite meeting up with the back edge, who cares? You're not going to see it. Okay, so I will do the same with these as I did with these. I'll speed it up so you don't have to sit through it in real time. And join you as soon as I'm done with that. Okay, so I think that came out actually kind of cool. So again, we're not going to see this. I'm going to have books and all kinds of other things in there. Plus we're going to have this, you know, whichever side. This will be extending out this way because this is the actual desk part that you write on, sort of thing. So I'll probably have to just glue it right there. But so now we're at the part where we would normally put the sides on, but we need to do the doors and the hinges. So we need to make sure that they're facing the right way, and we'll get our little hinges out here. We're just going to glue these because again, this is not going to be something that's, you know, open and closed, open and closed. If, you know, it doesn't look like it's going to work, it's just going to be glued shut anyway. So, okay, so I have these little hinges here, little barrel hinges. So we're going to want the barrel to be on the outside, right? So we're going to have it glued to the outside of the cabinet, which means it's going to have to go to the inside of the door. So we will do, and this one looks like it's bent. Great. Let's see. Yep, a little bit. There's my pliers. I'll just kind of take this and straighten it out a bit. That looks better. Okay, so what we'll do is we're going to use E6000 for this, and like I said, we want to do this before we get the doors with all their paper on, you know, because once we attach it to the door itself like this too, you know, we can put the paper and stuff on here as well. So yeah, because we don't want it on the outside. Well, do we want it? I don't think we want it on the outside. Let's see. No, that will not sit right. But this will. Okay. So let's put it in the center here. We're going to do one on each side with E6000. We're going to let it dry real good. Speaking of drying real good, do I have any? Oh, I do. Okay. Would have been typical of today for me to not have any in here, you know. I do have some more. Obviously, I always get the little tubes because I don't use it fast enough for the big tube, and it's real good at gluing the lid to the tube, which drives me bonkers. Okay, so there we go. So we've got this hinge on this side. We'll let that sit for just a second while I go grab another tube of it. Okay. Got another one. And then we're going to do the same on this side and make sure that the hinge is going to be able to close flat. So you've got it positioned so that this will go flat real good. And then this, we're going to do the same thing here. And we're going to let those sit and dry for a while. And then we will worry about putting the windows on these parts here. But we want this nice and solid before we go fiddling about with it. Okay, so we're going to leave that there and we'll come back. We'll do these, and then I have the transparency film here that we'll put on here, which has to go under this part as well. See, so these will sit on here like this. So this will cover the acetate and the hinge as well. So, and then we'll get it on the outside, get these on, get the sides on, and then do the box feet, which, knowing me, I'll probably put the gilding flakes on because I have to fix that mess there. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure I will. We'll see. Okay, so join you guys back here in a few minutes. All right, so these have had time to be on there nice and solid, and let's take our side piece and put that on there and see how it's going to cover that up really nicely. We're not going to put that on just yet, but what we're going to do now is work on the little doors. So if you look here, these will sit on here like this, and then, you know, they'll open with the little hinges here. So what we want to do is, I think, at least cut our, it's not acetate, well, it's kind of acetate. We're going to cut the transparency film so that it fits the entirety of the back, because the back is going to have, you know, these little door cover things as well, and so that'll hide that underneath there. And I think with the full acetate we can put it, you know, over the hinge as well, so it kind of helps hold that in there, and we don't have any lumps and bumps from it. I'm thinking would be best. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this on top of here. I'll line it up with these two edges, and I like to leave the tissue paper on there so I can kind of see it better, really. We're just going to cut it to the size of the door. super easy. I can feel it sliding a tiny bit, so maybe a little bit off, but that's okay. Not going to hurt anything. Okay, so there's one. Okay, see, and that's going to fit on the back just like that. And we'll get the other one. We'll take the other one from the other corner just so we know everything's nice and straight, at least on two sides, because God knows I would probably get it messed up. Okay. Cut this. And then we're going to glue our doors on. And of course we'll do the same as we did with the other ones. We'll let those kind of set up a bit, grab on real good, and then start gluing some of this stuff down too. All right. So these can go with all of this stuff. Oops, here comes tissue paper. Wants to stay with the door. Keep it on there so it protects it, especially from fingerprints and stuff like that. Okay, so we're going to do the same sort of thing. And we're going to put the E6000 on the little hinges, trying to avoid the barrel part. You know, I did open these fully because of course a little bit had gotten stuck, so they were kind of springing back, which was sort of cool, but not really, because I don't think I would have wanted them to actually do that. Let's see if we can find her here. Where'd you go? Over here. Okay, so we got these here, and put a little bit of the E6000 on there, and then we're going to put our doors on. We're going to kind of hold them down a little bit, but this way we can make sure they're nice and straight and level with the top, level with each other. And as you can see, you really aren't seeing them, you know, poke through on there. So maybe a tiny bit, but it's not going to hurt anything. All right, so these are nice and level here, and they look good with the top. So we'll just fold them like this. And then I will let these set up, and once they're set up, or we can, you know, open and close it and actually work with it without hurting anything, then I will come back to you and we can finish this part up, because then we just have to put the covers on here, put our little trim on there, put our sides on, our feet, and we're good to go. Oh, and our desk. So back in a minute. All right, so these have had enough time to dry that I think we can start putting the acetate and stuff on there. And if you look, yeah, I totally gilded them. I had to. I just had to. So these are looking pretty good here. They're super shiny. They will kind of, you know, look a little more aged-ish over time, but at least they're consistent with everything else. And then I fixed this bottom part where I'd gotten some paint on it. So now it's back to being nice and bright. So what we're going to do is we are going to open these out, and we are going to put the acetate on our windows. So my adhesive of choice for acetate is generally Glossy Accents, because it holds really well and it dries nice and clear. And unlike a lot of them, it's not going to show up really obvious if you do get some on there. So since this is going to cover the entire thing, yeah, of course it's not going to do that really. I clear this real quick here. Glossy Accents is notorious for doing that. Okay, that should do it, hopefully. We're just going to go ahead and put, you know, a nice decent amount, because we want to hold it down, but we're going to put it on all of the border of this, since of course we know it's going to cover the whole thing, including the thing there. And I'm going to put like a little dot in each of these where they cross, just to be extra. Okay, now we can take that off. And yeah, when I was doing the gilding on the feet, I made sure to pick up this stuff and take it as far away from this as possible and set it over to the side. Okay, so I'm going to press it down, and you'll see the stuff kind of squish in there. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to leave that to dry, and we'll do the same on the other side. But you want to hold it down really nice, especially because this is our first, you know, material that's going to be helping with the keeping the little latches on there, so we want it down pretty good. Make sure none of it's poking out. And squish it down. Alright, I think I'll sit this under here. Nope, that's a little too tall. What do I have? Oh, it's always something, you know? I need some short things. That'll work. I just don't want it hanging all the way down. This one stays open pretty good, but the other one kind of flops down a bit. Alright, so there is that. And once again, as always, we're going to let that dry. And I'll come back to you. Another thing we're going to let dry, so I might as well do that now, is this needs little doorknobs, right? So what I use for doorknobs are these. These are toothpicks. They're Japanese style toothpicks, and they are called kokeshi toothpicks. You can find them on Amazon. I got 2 containers like this for like, I don't know, $3 or something like that. But if you look, see how it's got that nice, maybe that contrast will help. See how it's got that nice kind of little thing right there? They make really good doorknobs, and they're just a really good scale. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the metallic gold paint, which is the same paint I used to do the mullions and the little window and the little door. We're just going to paint these just on the end. I want to paint them before I cut them off, because if I try to paint them after I cut them off, well, that's going to be a comedy in several acts, you know. But this way, if I have to, once I cut it off, I can touch it up, but at least I don't have to try to get the whole thing to stay put, you know, while I paint it. I'm going down a little ways, even though we're going to cut them off fairly short. So, okay, so that way these can dry. I don't think we need anything else to dry at the moment, because we're putting everything else on. All our paper we're going to put on with the Fabri-Tac, which is pretty quick. So, okay, I'll be back in a minute. Alright, so these should be sufficiently dry. They're not completely dry. It takes a while with that, but they should be good enough where we can put the door stuff on that's going to cover these. If I can grab the right one, seriously, come on. So we're going to put these on here, and I'm going to go ahead and do glossy accents on the back of these two, just because it's going onto the plastic material. So I'm more comfortable that it's going to hold when it's this versus Fabri-Tac or anything like that. There we go. It's just not wanting to cooperate today. Alright, so we're going to put it on there, you know, not a ton, obviously, you don't need a ton, but put enough, and glossy accents is great because it dries really, really clear, so I'll make sure I get up to the edges real good. And then we're going to sit this down on top of here, line that up. There we go. And then we're going to let this dry real good, and it looks like it could possibly need a little bit of trimming, so we'll get to that, you know, once it's nice and dry. We don't want to try to do that too early or we could tear it. Yeah, okay, I'm going to use the cap to put the glue on. That should work nicely, huh? Alright, this on here. And we'll end up doing the same thing. I'll have to wait while it dries, and then we can do the outside one. The outside one will be Fabri-Tac, so it'll dry much quicker. So we can do the outside of the windows and the sides, and then hit the doorknobs, and then we're pretty much done with this. Now her piece had a pediment up at the top. I don't believe AlphaStamps carries it anymore, the one that she used, so I'm going to have to check someplace that carries dollhouse things, see if maybe they have one that I could get for it. But then again, you know, it may be that it wouldn't fit right in there, so I'll make that call once I actually put it in the house and see how it fits. So, okay, got these pressed down real good. So I will let these dry up a bit, and then I will come back and we will finish up. All right, so it looks like these are probably dry enough that we can go ahead and close them and do the front. And these are kind of sticking up a little bit, which is not a big deal because I'm going to have them kind of open anyway. Sorry about that. Apparently my neighbor wanted to open their garage door. But anyways, so we're going to go ahead and use Fabri-Tac, and I'm going to Fabri-Tac the fronts on here, and we're going to do the sides. And I'll speed through that because I know they're going to open their garage door again or close it or whatever. And then we will come back and do these parts and the little doorknobs and all that. So, get all the little threads from the glue off of everything. Where's my tweezers? Tweezers work real good for that. That does ruin the illusion a little bit, you know, you have little spider webs of glue on things. But the Fabri-Tac does that, and the E6000 does that, of course, so kind of unavoidable. All right, so here we have it so far. So now we are going to put our fancy pants things on here. So if you remember, we had the one side that we really didn't do much to, so of course that's going to go down. And so for this, I think I might use glossy accents for this, just because glossy accents holds really, really well. So if I want something strong but not quite E6000, glossy accents is usually the go-to for that. And because we've got the gilding flakes on the back, you know, we won't have to worry about the gilding flakes sticking and then the rest of it not sticking and coming loose or anything like that. So put a fairly decent amount on the back. And we're going to sit this down here and line it up with our little window. There we go. And grab a regular toothpick. Just kind of get this little extra bit here. Because again, even though it dries clear, we don't want it to dry clear and lumpy. You know, and plus it'll be a bit shiny too, so kind of want to avoid that. Okay, nice, and then we'll get the other side. It's coming together rather lovely. This is going to look good in there, even though it's a Victorian home. This is more of a Regency piece. It's not out of place because the Regency piece to the Victorians would be starting to be an antique anyway, because that's the period right before the Victorian period, so like Napoleonic Wars and all that good stuff. A bit of trivia for the day, so named because it was during the Regency of King George IV, while his dad, King George III, was completely out of his skull, which he was for most of his reign, which was great. But hey, we got a country out of it, so I'll take that. But yeah, if you're watching like Bridgerton, I think that show, that's Regency time period. Everything's very ornate and very French influenced, as this piece definitely is. As I drop toothpicks all over it. Okay, so this is good, and I'll hold this up and make sure these look even, because that would not be good. Okay, perfect. So we got those pieces on there, and so now we need to separate our little doorknobs, because they're going to go on here, from the rest of the toothpicks. So I just used an X-Acto knife, and let me grab something that has some darker contrast, because yeah, do I have anything? I don't. Oh, maybe that. Okay, so if you can see here, this goes in, so I'm going to go to the bottom before it comes back out, so it's got kind of like the little doorknob stem. And so I just put the edge of my blade here and I kind of roll it while I'm pressing, just so it kind of continually goes around. Whoops, and then you shoot it off into nowhere. Crap. And that's when you go, oh, I have to paint another one. All right. I'll find it. I know the area it went. It couldn't have gone too far. All right, so I'm going to do the same with this. Except this time I'm going to try to maybe put my finger here and prevent it from shooting off into space. I don't know. Probably not. It'll probably just cause it to careen off where I don't see it. There it is. Yay. Okay, so we got one. All right. Let's see. Move the Fabri-Tac. I think it's under my glass mat. Ha ha ha. Yes. Yay. Okay, so now, no thanks to me, we have the doorknobs. I'm going to get my different tweezers that are straight. These are great, but they've got like little hooky things, and so my brain just doesn't like to function with those too well. All right, so those, I think I'll put those kind of down here. So again, I'll do the glossy accents for those, I think, too. Just because we've got the gilding flakes on there. So I'm just going to put a nice dot right there where I want each of those to go. And then I will pick them up and I will set them down in it. And I will begin the process of trying to get them to stand upright for a minute, long enough for the glue to grab. So that one's behaving, this one's not. There we go, and make sure they are even. Okay, so there we go. So we're going to let those dry, we're not going to touch it, and then we will come back yet again, and we will do the desktop and we will do the feet, and then that's pretty much it. So I will see you guys back here in just a minute. Okay, so these should be good enough that we can put our feet on without any of the stuff falling off. So we're going to turn this away here. And again, since I have the gold leafing stuff, I'm going to go ahead and do glossy accents with it. I would either do this or the E6000, but glossy accents is in theory easier when you remember to leave it on its side so that it little tiny bit that you have left is there. Okay, so we'll do kind of a decent amount here. And with this, we're just going to line this up with the edge. So we'll have it flush with the corners. There we go. More or less. Okay, so there's one. So I try not to grab it and put my fingers in it because, you know, it's totally something that I would do. All right, let's flush with the corner there. And these last two, then we will put the desk top on. Then we will be done with this portion of it, and then we'll just get to decorate it, which is the fun part, which will be in the next, video. Obviously, I'm not going to try to do all of it in one, even though normally I try to do all of it in one. I'm getting better about realizing that how that's totally not going to work, you know. So, all right, this in here. I'll just let these kind of set up for just a second. Make sure everybody's straight. The only drawback with doing this on camera is I can't really see very good, but I think that's about as straight as I'm going to get right there. And we'll keep this on its side, and I will pause and jump forward to when these have set up just enough where we can lay it down back on its back again, because it's really going to have to, since this is going to need to go straight up and down. So our little feet are good enough so that we can put our desk thing on. And as much as I love this little picture with the house, it doesn't look quite as right as the desktop as this does, because this does look kind of like a desk blotter thing. So I'm going to go ahead and put it that way. And again, I'll use glossy accents for that as well, just because it's less likely to cause a mess. The E6000 getting on something this narrow is going to end up kind of everywhere and blobby and whatever. So this should hold it just beautifully. Put a nice thick line of it on here, especially paying attention to those edges there. And we're going to line it up with this, and especially make sure it's flush with the top, because that's, you know, what the desk is going to be on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this until it's, you know, good enough grab so that it will stay upright, and then I will join you back at the end and we'll take a look at everything that we did. So we are done. And this is our final, well, almost final, and I'll get to that in a second, but product with the kit here. With the doors that open, more or less. And the little shelves, and then we change the drawers around and the desks. So if we look at the picture of the example one here, it's kind of close. So missing this pediment, which I will go get. It's probably one of the, like the wooden ones that you get for above the doors on doll houses. So I'll go look at that. One of the things that I would have liked to have been different is, see how she's using 2 hinges here, and I only used the one because I only had one. So what happens here is these tend to kind of sag down a little bit, which we will fix when we go to decorate it by probably taking just a little bit of museum wax once the shelves are loaded, and just kind of tacking them in place. Same with, I would have loved to have been able to fold this up, because if you see here, she's got it where it's folded up and it looks really cute. But again, we're going to be putting stuff and gluing it down on here, so it's not as big of a deal with this one. So that's it for this part. Oh, and the little feet came out pretty cool. And so next time what we'll do is I will get some box feet specifically, because we're going to do the wood one. Well, actually the next thing we're going to do is we're going to decorate this. So we are going to use the kit here. So again, this is the Scrolls, Charts, and Ephemera Set 1, and I will link that one down below. And it has all the different little things that we can make scrolls and letters and stuff out of. But we're going to save these for a later one, and these are going to be for the poison bottle type stuff. And I was thinking maybe, since after we decorate, which will technically complete this one, and I should have the pediment thing by then, so we can add that too. But I did trace this here so we can try making it out of wood, and especially now having it put together, you can see things like, okay, this will need to be cut, you know, obviously solidly, but along the lines of these tabs, whereas these shelves will go on the inner part, you know, things like that. So we're going to see if we can adapt that. I will get hinges so that we can have 2 hinges on these. We can have 2 hinges on this part. And then we're going to do a few things a little bit different with it. But this one may be for the newer house that I'm going to do. And then the wood one we'll use in the Mad Scientist lab or something, or in the study. And we can do the poison bottles for in here. So this can be kind of like, I don't know, a fancy medicine cabinet, you know, where he kind of does the little potions and things, and maybe some of the maybe the test tubes or something can be kind of on the desk. That'll give it a place to be instead of just sitting on the lab table. So anyways, we will figure that out, cross that bridge when we come to it. So at any rate, here we go. We have the secretary. Again, this was a kit from AlphaStamps, and Gypsy Soul Laser Cuts is who makes it. And once again, have to give massive props to Laura Carson, who is Artfully Musing, which I will put her link, but this is available on AlphaStamps as well, and it's linked to the kit page, so if you scroll down, you'll see it. Because, man, were these exact or what? I think there was just the 2 little pieces for the doors I had to trim, and that was really it. Everything else was perfect. So we will come back again, probably next week, since my work is rather busy this week. And so it pretty much means I only get to craft on the weekends, because during the week I'm wiped. At the end of the day, I'm not making nothing. I'm watching other people make stuff. It's pretty much all I got speed for. But we will come back and we will decorate this. And so I will show you how to make the little scrolls and the bundles of letters, and some tips and tricks for that. And yeah, it's going to be fun. So I will see you then. Hej med resef. See you guys later. Bye.